Hello everyone, and welcome to today's random review. I'm your host, Daniel. If you hear any background noise, that is just the spa water going down the plug, as I've just had a spa. I'm currently taking a break from work, so that doesn't mean I'm off doing nothing. This gives me plenty more time to upload content for you people. Why? Because that's what I love doing. Today I will review the first installment in Adam Green's Hatchet series. This being the 2006 film. The film opens with two fishermen in a swamp somewhere in Louisiana, Ainsley and his father. Ainsley, unfortunately, has to urinate. While urinating off the boat, an alligator nearly jumps and bites his penis off. This freaks him out, so he insists to his dad that he go to shore to finish his business, as you do. While relieving himself, Ainsley's father is killed, seemingly by an alligator, to which Ainsley stumbles across his father's body. However, it is then revealed that Ainsley's father was not killed by an alligator at all, but a huge hulking man who promptly drags Ainsley away and dismembers his body and throws them against the tree, leaving blood and gore everywhere. Then the scene switches to that of people dancing and half-naked women dancing at a festival, and everyone either dressed in costumes, dancing to music, or throwing up. This being Mardi Gras. We're then introduced to Ben, a teenager who has just recently been dumped by his girlfriend of 8 years, Christine, who is being dragged along to Mardi Gras by his best friend Marcus and a couple of other friends whose names we never know. Ben is clearly unhappy and would rather be doing something different, either being back at the hotel or, as he insists to his friend Marcus, going on a haunted swamp tour, which Marcus is vehemently against as he is having a great time. However, after Ben insists that, he will have fun, he agrees to go along. They then go to this shop run by a mysterious man named Reverend Zombie, played by Tony Todd, the legendary actor who plays the main villain in Candyman. Zombie tells them that he's not allowed to run the tour business anymore, as there was an insurance accident that took place at night that resulted in his business going bust. However, he directs them to another shop run by Sean. The two go there and are soon greeted by Sean, an eccentric Southern Asian man who is very enthusiastic. We are also introduced to Misty and Jenna, two women who are aspiring actresses in the adult film industry. Film director Doug Shapiro, who's a bit of a pervert, and sweet old couple Jim and his wife, whose name we don't know either. Sean tells them that the tour will cost $40. Sean pays up and also chips in for Marcus, who, even though has money, refuses to pay for this shit. His words. Everyone boards the boat, and there Ben meets a quiet girl named Mary Beth, who does not seem interested in making friends and ignores his clumsy attempts at a conversation, followed by such classics as, "That's a nice coat," and "Does she have any pets?" Much to Marcus's amusement, as he immediately hits it off with Jenna, and they start talking and laughing. During the bus tour, Sean tries to regale his guests with tales of the swamp, such as sunken pirate treasure and landmarks, such as the alleged resting place of voodoo priestess Queen Marie. However, this is dispelled by the fact that Jim, who seems to be a bit of a nerd, keeps dispelling these mysteries by saying that mysterious lights on the swamp are nothing more than marsh vapors, and the reason people graves are above the ground in this area are because of the depths that the swamp can rise to, not because of hauntings or to prevent spirits from rising up out of the ground, much to Sean's annoyance, as he seems very enthusiastic about his tales. They finally disembark from the bus and onto a much smaller boat. Things seem to be going smoothly enough until Sean accidentally runs aground, thankfully interrupting Ben's misguided and very awkward attempt at confessing to Mary Beth, who does not want to talk to him at all, his frustrations with being dumped by his girlfriend of 8 years, Christina, much to Marcus's chagrin. With Marcus's help, they are able to dislodge the boat from the rock and attempt to get back to the bank. However, the boat runs aground. Jim, having seen a way to the riverbank, attempts to scale a tree that has fallen across the river, however falls and injures his leg in the process. This is exacerbated by the fact that an alligator then jumps out and nearly eats Jim. However, he is unexpectedly saved by Mary Beth, who has a gun stowed away. Everyone manages to get to safety, and after catching their breath, everyone demands why Mary Beth has a gun. She explains that the woods aren't safe, and everyone needs to move to higher ground. Once there, it is revealed that Sean was talking in a fake southern accent and is really Chinese. Everyone is angry at him for running the boat aground. Also, it is revealed that Sean does not know his facts well, as the director, Doug Shapiro, had picked up notes of Sean's detailing details of events and dates, followed by hastily crossings out of information. The cat out of the bag, Sean admits that he has only done the tour once, not counting this time, and that nothing bad happened the previous night, and that his brother set him up with the tour boat gig as a way to make money. Thinking it was a good idea, Sean agreed. Everyone then turns their attention to Mary Beth, who demand they tell her why she has a gun. She explains that she is looking for her father and brother Ainsley, who have gone missing. She explains that because that part of the swamp they're in is closed, and since it is illegal for anyone to go in there, her father came up with the idea of hunting alligators, thinking their numbers would be far more plentiful, being in a isolated area of swamp than a legal setting. Ignoring Marybeth's insistence not to go, they went anyway. Marybeth then explains the legend of Victor Crowley. Victor Crowley and his father were outcasts. Victor, having been born deformed, was teased horribly and cruelly by children growing up, and as a result lived a reclusive lifestyle with his father. One night on Halloween, some teenagers, armed with firecrackers, attempted to scare Victor out of the house by lighting and setting off fireworks. Victor, being afraid, tried to escape the house. However, the house had been accidentally set on fire by some of the teenagers, who promptly ran away in fear. Victor's father then arrived home and tried to break down the door using a hatchet, the door being stuck. However, he does break through the door, but one of the hatchet swings accidentally hits his son in the face, Victor having pressed himself against the door in an effort to escape. Having inadvertently caused the death of his only son, Victor's father falls into a deep depression and becomes a recluse for 10 years, and eventually dies of a broken heart. However, Victor's story does not end there, as according to Marybeth's mother, the trauma of how Victor died, plus coupled with the loneliness and agony of his childhood, caused him to constantly repeat the night he died, meaning that he is constantly scared and angry and will lash out at anyone, seemingly resulting in the deaths of Mary Beth's family and anyone else foolish enough to come across the swamp. The others, of course, do not believe this story, all except Ben, who seems to have taken a liking to Mary Beth and attempts to reassure her that perhaps her parents, her family, are just missing and are trying to find their way back home, and that Mary Beth is nothing, and that Victor Crowley is nothing more than a myth such as the Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. Mary Beth remaining unconvinced. Jim's wife, having heard the story and furious over the fact that everyone is talking instead of helping her husband Jim up, angrily berates them and tells them that they should all move on. They do so and eventually make their way to a house, which happens to be the apparent house of Victor Crowley, having been earlier shown a fake house by Sean on the tour boat. Not listening to Mary Beth's warning, Jim's wife and Jim start walking towards the house, but are eventually confronted by Victor Crowley, who hits Jim repeatedly in the back with his axe and scalps his wife to death. Terrified, the others all run away. Before doing so, however, Mary Beth manages to shoot down Victor Crowley, with her handgun before fleeing into the woods. She is soon reunited with Ben, Misty, Marcus, and Jenna. However, they cannot find Shapiro. Shapiro, having fled the group, runs into Victor Crowley and is promptly killed, dropping his camera bag in the process, to which the others soon find. It is then revealed, while searching for a flashlight, which they do find, that Doug Shapiro is in fact not Doug Shapiro, but Samuel M. Barrett, a senior marketing manager who masquerades as a movie director for a company called Bayou Beavers in an attempt to film women kissing and making out, much to Marcus's amusement. They soon stumble across Shapiro's dead body and are forced to conclude that Victor Crowley does in fact exist. It is at this point that Mary Beth explains to the others that Victor constantly is reliving the night he died and therefore can never truly die, having never really been human in the first place, and that they have to kill him. They eventually decide that they must fight, after convincing Marcus, who had literally run up a tree at this point, to go down and look for weapons in a shed that happens to be back near Victor's house. Although the others are against this idea, they reluctantly agree and continue on. It is here, accompanied by Ben, that Mary Beth, much to her grief, discovers the dead bodies of her father and brother Ainsley. Ben attempts to get her out of the house. Meanwhile, the others are confronted by Victor Crowley, but they are able to fight him off. It is then that Ben resolves that they have to fight and kill Victor, reasoning that there should be some petrol canisters back at the shed and they can light him on fire, having realized that Victor is vulnerable, having been stabbed by Ben previously and having been shot by Mary Beth, both times feeling pain and suffering as a result. The plan goes well, with Ben initially finding the gas and a distraction being provided by Marcus and Mary Beth, while Misty keeps a lookout, Jenna having previously been belt sanded to death. However, Misty is soon killed, having her body parts literally thrown at Ben by Victor. However, Marcus and Mary Beth are able to fight him, and during the melee, Ben is able to set Victor on fire, to which he screams and goes down, writhing in agony. However, all this lasts no more than about 20 seconds, as it then rains, which Ben aptly says, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." The three then run through the cemetery and try and find the gate out of the cemetery by following the fence. It is here that Marcus is soon killed by Victor Crowley. However, before dying and by having his body thrown against the cemetery, and after being ripped limb from limb, he tells the others to run. Heartbroken, Ben and Mary Beth continue on until Ben, exhausted, stops, stating that he can't go on anymore, having nearly fallen into the river before being pulled out by Mary Beth and encouraged to move in a different direction. Upon being asked where to go, a piece of a steel fence pole is flung at Ben's foot, stabbing him in the process. However, Mary Beth tells Ben to push against the pole with all his strength, thus bending the pole into a spear angled at Victor Crowley, who by this point is running towards the two. The plan works, and Victor Crowley is stabbed, seemingly to death, the pole going right through him. Mary Beth and Ben manage to find the boat that Ainsley and her father were on. It is at this point that Mary Beth, having been very headstrong and brave throughout this whole deal, finally breaks down and cries. Ben comforts her, reassuring her that the two of them are alive, and that is all that really matters. Unfortunately, Victor Crowley then appears, grabbing Mary Beth and pulling her underwater. Ben screams and tries to help her. The scene then switches to that of underwater from Mary Beth's perspective, who thankfully sees Ben's arm hanging out of the water down towards her. She grabs it and pulls herself up out of the surface of the water, only to see Ben having his arm being ripped off by Victor Crowley, and Victor standing over her, roaring. She screams in terror. Well, that is my review of Hatchet, directed by Adam Green, released in 2006. This film was followed by two sequels, Hatchet 2 and Hatchet 3, and if you really want to get technical, Hatchet 4, Victor Crowley. As an introduction to a slasher series, especially in the late 2000s, it was very good, with the characters not being quite as one-dimensional for a slasher film and being more rounded out, with competent performances by the actors involved, yet with a compelling story to keep you intrigued. There was also enough black humour sprinkled throughout the series to make it not be macabre like Saw, or just another generic slasher film like Friday the 13th or Halloween, whose focus is on more suspense and horror and gore instead of humour. I'd say it's more of a hybrid of the graphics from, say, a Friday the 13th series, coupled with the self-aware humour or realistic humour of Scream of the 1990s. Hatchet is followed by Hatchet 2. However, the actress who portrays Mary Beth in the original Hatchet does not return, instead being replaced by legendary Scream Queen actress Danielle Harris, who previously portrayed Jamie Lloyd in Halloween's 4 and 5. But that is a review for another day. I hope you enjoyed it. In the spirit of Halloween, as previously stated in my channel update, I'll eventually be reviewing Rob Zombie's Halloween series 1 and 2, and eventually the Hellraiser series by Clive Barker, at least the first installment. I will definitely come back to the Hatchet series, as it is personally one of my favorite slasher series. Well, thank you for watching. Please like this video if you enjoyed the content, leave a comment if you have another suggestion for a series for me to review or a movie, and leave a comment down below. And please consider subscribing if you haven't already. Thank you to my existing subscribers, and as always, if you want to be cool, stay cool. Goodbye for now.